Hi everyone, I'm Karen. Let me tell you the story of what happened with my ex-husband, James, and his ex-wife, Victoria. Buckle up, this one's a ride. It all began 3 years ago at the annual Children's Hospital Charity Gala. I was there representing my interior design firm, a business I poured a decade of hard work into building. While arranging the centerpieces, I bumped, quite literally, into James. He was tall, charming, and wearing a bow tie that was just slightly askew. "These tables look amazing," he said, adjusting his tie with a sheepish grin. "I'm on the hospital board, and I've never seen the gala look this elegant." We clicked instantly. James, a successful lawyer and divorcee, seemed genuinely captivated by my work. Our first date was the very next weekend, and before long, we were inseparable. "You're unlike anyone I've ever met," James would say, pulling me closer. "Victoria and I just grew apart, but with you, everything feels right." My sister, Sarah, wasn't so sure. "He talks about his ex a lot," she pointed out over coffee one day. "Are you sure he's moved on?" I brushed her off with a laugh. "You worry too much. They've been divorced for 2 years. It's ancient history." 18 months later, James proposed during a romantic weekend in the Hamptons. Everything about him seemed perfect, too perfect, in hindsight. We had a small, intimate wedding, though I couldn't ignore his brother Michael's odd behavior whenever Victoria's name came up at the reception. "It's just old family drama," James assured me. Michael and Victoria never got along. Life carried on. My best friend Amy threw us a housewarming party when we moved into our new home. While helping James unpack his office, she stumbled upon a box filled with old photos of him and Victoria. "Babe, why do you still have these?" I asked, feigning casualness. "Oh, I just haven't had time to sort through everything," he said, quickly shutting the box and stashing it away. 6 months into our marriage, I discovered I was pregnant. When I told James, he swept me off my feet, spinning me around in joy. But later that night, I overheard him on the phone. "No, I can't talk right now," he whispered in the backyard. "I'll call you back." When he came inside, I asked who he'd been talking to. "Just a client," he said, planting a kiss on my forehead. "You know how work gets." These small moments began to add up: the old photos, the hushed phone calls, the way he casually dropped Victoria's name in conversation. But I pushed my doubts aside. My life seemed picture perfect. A thriving career, a loving husband, and a baby on the way. Marriage is about trust, Emmy reminded me during one of our brunches, but it's also about instincts. "Are you sure everything's okay?" I forced a smile, resting a hand on my growing belly. "Everything's perfect," I said, even as unease gnawed at me. If only I'd listened to my gut. As my pregnancy progressed, Victoria started showing up everywhere. At first, it was coincidental, chance encounters at local coffee shops or community events. But then she seemed to be at every social gathering, always through mutual friends I didn't even know we had. "Victoria is just amazing with event planning," our neighbor gushed one afternoon. "She's organizing the most beautiful baby shower for you." I nearly choked on my tea. "I'm sorry, what?" "James didn't tell you?" "He asked Victoria to plan everything. He said you'd be thrilled." That evening, I confronted James. "Why would you let her plan my baby shower without even asking me?" "Honey, you've been so busy with work and the pregnancy," he said, trying to soothe me. "Victoria offered, and she's really good at this sort of thing. Just give her a chance." The baby shower was a disaster. Victoria had commandeered my mother's house, turning it into something that looked like a Pinterest board gone horribly wrong. She played hostess, recounting stories about James that always seemed to revolve around their time together. Remember when we planned our future children's names?" Victoria laughed, casually brushing James's arm. "You always loved the name Victoria Jr." The room fell uncomfortably silent. My sister, Sarah, shot them a sharp glance, her eyes narrowing as she took in their interactions. "James, could you help me in the kitchen?" Victoria called out every 15 minutes, as if it were her party. Each time they returned, they seemed more animated, whispering private jokes and exchanging meaningful glances. "Time for the thank you speech," Victoria announced near the end. "James insisted you'd want to properly thank everyone, especially your wonderful planner." James gently but firmly nudged me toward the center of the room. "Go on, honey. Tell everyone how grateful you are for Victoria's help." Humiliated, I stood in front of my family and friends, forcing a smile. "Thank you, Victoria, for everything," I managed, holding back tears. The following week, Amy showed up at my office, her face pale and serious. "Karen, I need to tell you something," she began. "I seen Victoria at James' office building 3 times this week. They were having lunch in his private office. Maybe it's about the shower," I suggested weakly, grasping at straws. "The shower's over," Amy said flatly. "Sarah called next. I've been going through your shared credit card statements like you asked," she said, her tone grim. "There are charges for Tiffany's, high-end restaurants, and hotel bars. Places I know you've never been." "Hotel bars?" I asked, my voice trembling. "The Waldorf, the Plaza, during business hours, when he claims he's in court," Sarah explained. James' excuses were growing more elaborate by the day. Late-night client meetings, weekend conferences, emergency consultations. One Friday, he announced he needed to fly to Boston for a case. That same evening, my doctor's office called. "Mrs. Thompson, we need to reschedule your husband's genetic counseling appointment since he missed today's." "What appointment?" "The one scheduled for 2 p.m. today. We called his office, but they said he was out of town." Panic set in. I checked his location using our shared phone plan. He wasn't in Boston, he was at the Plaza. That night, I lay in bed, 7 months pregnant, listening to James whisper on the phone in the backyard. Through the crack in the window, I heard him say, "I miss you too. We'll figure something out. I promise." The life I thought was perfect was unraveling, thread by thread. Sarah and Amy came over while James was at another meeting. We spread documents across the dining room table, bank statements, phone records, anything we could find. "Look at these email login attempts on your shared iPad," Amy said, pointing to the screen. "They're to an account you don't know about." After some digging, we cracked into James' old email account. My hands shook as I scrolled through hundreds of messages between him and Victoria, dating back to the beginning of our relationship. "I miss holding you at night," read one from just last week. "Playing house with her is killing me," James had written. "Just a little longer, baby. Once the baby comes, we'll figure out how to be together properly," Victoria had replied. My stomach lurched. Sarah gripped my hand. "There's more, isn't there?" Amy was already on the phone. "Michael, we need to talk. Now." James's brother arrived an hour later, looking nervous. I handed him a cup of coffee. "Tell me the truth, please." He cracked almost immediately. "They never separated, Karen. The divorce papers were drawn up but never filed. It was all staged. Victoria's business was failing, and they needed your money, your connections." "My what?" "Your client list, your reputation. James used your design firm's contacts to funnel money into Victoria's event planning business. They've been partners the whole time." "Partners in what way?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. "Both ways. Business and," he hesitated, "everything else. They thought having a baby would give them access to your family's trust fund." The room spun. The constant phone calls, the secret meetings, the joint business lunches. It all made sense now. Over the next week, we gathered everything: documents, emails, recorded conversations. I played the role of the oblivious wife, all while building my case. "How's Victoria's business doing?" I'd asked James casually over dinner. "Oh, she's been busy, but her company's taking off," he'd reply, unaware I had proof he was bankrolling it. I installed cameras in our home office and watched him on split screen, whispering sweet nothings to Victoria while lying to my face. "The baby's kicking," I said one evening, guiding his hand to my belly. He smiled briefly, then checked his phone. "Victoria says hi," he said absently, freezing as the words left his mouth. I smiled, hiding the storm brewing inside me. "That's nice, honey. Tell her thanks again for the shower." They thought they were clever. They had no idea what was coming next. But they didn't realize they'd handed me everything I needed to destroy them both. By my 8th month, the plan was ready. I had transferred my personal assets to secure accounts, meticulously documented every fraudulent transaction, and hired a ruthless lawyer who specialized in takedowns. The day I left James, I did it with surgical precision. "I'm going to Sarah's for the weekend to rest," I told him sweetly, packing a small bag. He kissed my cheek, oblivious. Instead, I executed my plan. First, I sent an anonymous tip to his law firm's ethics board about client fund misappropriation. Then, I submitted evidence of Victoria's business fraud to the IRS. Mrs. Thompson, my lawyer, called later that day. The forensic accountants found everything. They're going down. I was in the hospital when the follow-up began. Sarah and Amy held my hands as I brought my daughter, Emma, into the world. No James, no Victoria, just pure love and the start of a new chapter. Between contractions, Amy read updates aloud from her phone. Your soon-to-be ex-husband's firm is conducting an internal investigation. A month later, Victoria's business imploded. Turns out she'd been cooking the books for years. James drained his accounts trying to save her, but it was too late. Did you hear? Sarah rushed in one morning. James lost his license to practice law. The firm uncovered decades of ethical violations. I focused on rebuilding. My design firm flourished. Turns out clients appreciate honest business practices. Meanwhile, I watched from afar as James and Victoria's house of cards crumbled. 3 years passed. Emma grew into a spirited, strong-willed toddler. We were celebrating her 3rd birthday when I got the text. James has filed for bankruptcy. Mommy, more cake. Emma squealed, her face covered in frosting. That's when James showed up, uninvited. He looked terrible, no more expensive suits or slicked back hair. His voice trembled. Karen, please. I've lost everything. Victoria's facing jail time for tax fraud. I was wrong. You and Emma are my real family. I glanced at Emma, happily playing with her Aunt Sarah, and then at Amy, who'd stood by me through everything. My business was thriving. My life was peaceful. No, James, I said, my voice steady. You didn't lose everything. You threw it away. The difference matters. But I've changed, he pleaded. Victoria's ruined me. I realize now. Stop. I held up my hand. You're not here because you love us. You're here because you lost your backup plan. The answer is no. Karen, you can't keep my daughter from me, he tried one last time, desperation etched across his face. Watch me, I replied. And by the way, the DA has those recordings of you planning to steal my trust fund. Might want to lawyer up. Oh wait, you can't afford one anymore. I turned and walked away, leaving him standing there, calling after me. His voice meant nothing now. Some call it karma. I call it justice. Mommy. Emma called. Aunt Amy's doing the butterfly dance. Coming, sweetie, I said, scooping her into my arms. Love you, Mommy, she whispered, wrapping her little arms around my neck. Love you too, baby girl, I replied, holding her close. Looking at my daughter and my real family, I knew I'd won more than just justice. I'd won my freedom. They thought they could break me, but instead, I built something stronger from the pieces they left behind. Reflection. What would you do if you discovered your marriage was built on an elaborate lie? Would you confront the betrayal immediately or quietly gather evidence like I did? The scariest part of betrayal isn't the act itself. It's realizing how long you ignored the red flags. What warning signs stood out to you in my story? What patterns do you think people commonly overlook in their relationships? If you found this story compelling, please like and subscribe for more real-life accounts of overcoming betrayal and finding strength. Share your experiences in the comments. You might help someone recognize toxic patterns before it's too late. Remember, losing what we thought we had can lead us to something better, if we're brave enough to walk away.